On this bonus mini episode, Joey Castillo answers listener questions. You can hear Joey's full-length interview along with 160 other interviews when you subscribe to the Trap Set on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, NPR One, or wherever you get your podcasts. Matt is asking about your recording process with Queens, the equipment that you used, and actually a few people are asking about this process of recording drums and cymbals separately. So could you kind of describe that?
Yeah. Well, the three records, how many did I do? Three? Yeah, 2.5, 3. The recording process varies, a lot of times from song to song. But I think most of Lullabies was done drums and cymbals separate. So what I did, there's a few different ways to do it. What I felt most comfortable was the drums, obviously acoustically, are set up normal. In the place of all the cymbals, which I never set up anything other than just a hat and a ride, just for the motion of hitting stuff. And what we would set up was I think I used just like electronic drum type pad, just on a stand, and then heavily padded so you can't really hear. If you really get in there, you can hear the hits sometimes.
But once you add the cymbals on top, you're not going to hear it.
Most of the time. Yeah. You can still hear some stuff. That's why a lot of the stuff gets flammy at times, because you're kind of trying to,
I've done that before. It's not easy.
It's you know what it is? It's not that it's not so easy. You just have to learn, because drummers, we lean on cymbals.
Yes.
There's the feel of, the flow of something. So without that there, and you're just banging on something, it gets a little funky. But you're right. It's just something to get used to. And I didn't find it hard at all. It's a little bit, the fun part is the actual overdubbing of the cymbals, because you can get a little pretty creative with that. The drum part sometimes gets a little boring, because it's like, that explosion of things isn't quite there at times,
A. Krieger is asking about your experience playing with Scott. How would you describe that relationship musically?
To be honest, it was pretty brief, but I knew Scott for years. And the one thing I do know was, Scott was another music lover and he was very musical, It was a tough time, it was, because I had known him for so long, and he was really trying to get things right in a lot of ways with his life, and he was in the process of that, and he had a lot of ideas, which sadly, he had asked me to help him out for a new record with some people and stuff, and I had spoke to these people, and everybody was really excited about doing it, and sadly we lost him before that, but I loved him, man. He was a sweetheart, and I have nothing but respect for the guy. I know he had some tough times, like many people do, and at the end of it all, I was stoked to be doing what I was doing with him, but at the same time, like I say, it was a rough time for him, and I saw him struggling, and that's what was kind of a bummer,
And you mentioned that you've been clean and sober for 18 years.
Yeah.
How did you achieve that?
For me, it's something that ran its course.
Yeah.
I woke up one day and I just was like, I'm not going out tonight. I'm done with it. I don't want to talk. I just, and I just knew it was done. I just was, I was kind of, just bored.
Was it hard at first?
God, it's been so long. I'll tell you what, it's not that it's hard. I'll tell you what the hard part is getting used to. I mean, mind you, man, I've been playing in music my whole life. So bars, gigs, people, parties.
There's always beer around. There's always stuff around. Yeah,
man. It's like, so that was the tough part. Wasn't me necessarily just stopping that. It was the
part of the ritual
and things that came with it.
Yes,
the party, this, that. That's it. It's like I still tried to go out and hang out as much as I could here and there. Obviously now it's much easier for me, but that was the hard part. Was I don't have a drink in my hand, or just
And it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. I feel like I can't relate. But the one thing is, for me, I never used to play drunk or loaded. I just didn't. It wasn't in. I just never did it. So it
Seems
was
hard to do that.
I don't know.
To
I
be
can't.
wasted and play.
I never understood it.
Some
I don't
people
get
can do it.
I
really.
don't get it. Yeah, I know.
And so that leads to the next question. A couple people are asking about your kind of athletic approach to drumming. Do you have certain exercises that you do, or
I try my best to stay in shape. I'm far from in the shape I used to be in now that I used to be. But
man, you got to get it together. You have a boy coming.
That's it.
You got to be able to play
girl,
baseball with him.
I've been doing this push-up challenge for about a week now. It's like 10 push-ups in a minute for 10 minutes on every minute. So it's 110 minutes. So so for a month straight every day.
Looking
so
ripped, man. Yeah. All right, we got to do it after this. When you're playing, how much of the time are you thinking and making decisions, and how much of the time are you just going with it?
It's probably 50-50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a lot of time. Well, I mean, obviously, I can't. No, I take that back, because in bands like Queens and bands like the Bronx and stuff like that, where the songs are very arrangements are very important. You know what I mean? That necessarily isn't always the case. But, in bands like Blast and bands like Trash Talk and even a lot of the stuff with the Zach Sabbath stuff, Zach goes and does his jams and solos for as long as he has. There's moments to move around and stuff like that. So in those kind of situations, it's much broader. You know what I mean? It's like, like I say, there's a lot more space to kind of do stuff like that.
And then one more question coming from Dan is, do you have an agent or manager, or do you handle all your business yourself?
I don't have an agent or a manager. I've always managed to try to keep my line to anyone open, although my wife is a big part of keeping my calendar together, because I'm the worst at that.
What about negotiating and sticking up for yourself financially?
I mean, I have to kind of do it myself. There's obviously, there are moments where I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I want to do this. I don't care if there's $50 and some dinner afterwards. That's cool, because I love it. Mm-hmm. But there's moments too where I've got I've got a house, and I've got my wife, and I've got a baby on the way, and and I've got to make things work. I have to. It's my living. I'm 51 years old. And it's like, this is what I've been doing my whole life. To start to try to change that thing now and to go into something else is probably not going to be very easy. But
would you ever want to go into something else?
No, and that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
And there's, because a lot of my friends who have asked me, dude, you're still playing like you're 50, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I don't think like that, man. I let my heart, as corny as that sounds, I let that be my guide most of the time, and it's like, and I've been very lucky, and like I say, it's like, I know it has a lot to do with also just believing in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can't just show up and just be this. It's very difficult for me to do that. Just show up and do a gig. And I've had to do it a couple times, and that's when I sit there going like, man, this isn't,
why am I doing this?
I can't do this. This is not me. I don't feel good about it. And I don't find any joy in it. That there's moments like that when I've had it, because I've had to do things like that, and that's when I've been like, I'm not wired that way. I know so many people that are able to do that, and that's cool too. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just not wired that way. It shows up here I'm very easy to read when it's happening like that, and it's like, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Well, thanks again, Joey. This has been great.
Thanks for having me, my man.